Hi, this is Phil, and I'm here to tell you all about the Capes and Lunatics Patreon. Don't miss out on our comic book creator interviews, including our monthly Chichester chats with comic book legend DG Chichester, superhero movie brackets in our search for the worst comic book movie of all time, and many, many more specials, all completely uncensored. Access starts for $3 a month, full video when you pledge $5 a month. Check out the link in our show notes or go to patreon.com/CapesandLunatics. Hope to see you there.
Avast me hearties, and welcome once again to Full Stream Ahead. I be your Captain Charlie, the Professor Esser, and with me as always is my first mate and skinny rich friend.
It's Mozz.
Welcome, Mozz. Welcome to Willow. In a world of capes and lunatics, worms and wild beasts, in a kingdom far away, there is one who must rise to protect the realm with what little magic is left. He is Willow, and this is Willow on Disney Plus, Season 1, Episode 1, 20 years after vanquishing the wicked Queen Bavmorda. The sorcerer Willow Ufgood leads a group of misfits on a dangerous rescue mission into the unknown. Our creator here is Jonathan Kasdan. Our stars are, let's get our writers first. We got, series directed by, we're getting the full list of directors here. Philip Lothorpe is going to do 2 episodes. Debs Peterson does 2 episodes. Stephen Wolfenden does 2 episodes. Jamie Childs does 2. I don't know which one they're doing here, but they're doing something. And then our series writing credits, again, wow, this is so weird that that it's not broken up by, let me just do something real quick. Let me just make sure I'm not.
That's the episode as opposed to the show.
Let me go to the actual episode guide. So let's go to the episodes. Episode 1, The Gales. Okay. There we are. Okay, you start on the wrong page, and that's what happens. Tyr Aisling receives an important delegation from Galadorn, but a sudden attack by the mysterious Gales prompts Queen Sorsha to seek help from an old friend. This time our director is Stephen Wolfenden. Ooh, that's a cool name for a fantasy director, Wolfenden.
That sounds like it was Hollywoodized.
You never know. I mean, look at Arnold Schwarzenegger, you know?
What, his name was Hollywoodized?
No, it's not.
Oh,
but,
okay. I was going to say, why would you?
You would think, who would choose a name like Schwarzenegger?
I mean,
it
is super memorable.
Jonathan, by this week, Jonathan Kasdan also gets our developed by George Lucas, as those based on characters created by. So, see, this is nice. This is George Lucas's other project. This is what Star Wars could have been. And, of course, John Bickenstaff is our uncredited, hardest-working staff writer in show business. Uncredited. That's how hard they worked, and they didn't even get the credit. That's sad. Yeah, so so this starts out, it's interesting. Because you get the basic, previously on Willow, which is the Willow movie, about how they vanquished, evil from the realm, with the help of Willow and the one true chosen one, who will, of course, one day become the queen, although no one knows where she is. And that's an interesting turn of events, to be sure. One we do resolve by the end, but still it is an interesting turn of events. But we open up here with let's see here. We have, I think we open up with the Flag Smasher sparring with the Princess, because that's Ruby Cruz as Kit Tantalos and Aaron Kellerman as Jade Claymore. They're sort of they're cutie pies. And they're fighting and flirting as you do in a fictional D&D setting.
Right. Right.
What
Fair
else
enough.
you gonna do? Yeah, what else are you gonna do around the table?
Right.
And of course, what's going on is that Kit is about to be betrothed to none other than Sony's own Flash Thompson, Tony Revolori, who is Graydon Hastur. Who I really like in this.
Yeah.
I find him to be a lovable scamp. And honestly, it's funny to me because he is clearly probably the best statesman. And it's possibly because he's not from the adventurer class,
Right.
And I'll bet you he can fight if it comes to it, because I'm sure he's been trained in swordsmanship and all of the things one does as an up-and-coming prince of the realm. Right,
but I'm sure he got D's,
Yeah. Well, I don't know, That's always that surprising thing that, it's like, no, of course I know how to fight. Yeah, no.
So, I mean, I don't know. It just seems like, guys like that usually don't know how to fight. And that's okay.
You know what it is?
You can't be everything, right? You got to be good at something and lacking in something. You can't make every character just good at everything. You know what I'm saying? That gets
no, that's true. But I would wager that he's going to be what I'm saying is he will have his moment where he surprises people. Right. At how good he is, because he will be a really good technical fighter. He won't be a dirty fighter. He won't be able to do a barroom brawl. But if if someone pulls a sword on him, I bet you he's real quick with it. I bet you he can throw a dagger just fine.
I feel like he's really good at not finding himself in those situations.
Which is true, too. And that'll be his thing. He will always probably be talking himself out of stuff.
Right.
It's like, why do we need to engage in that way?
Yeah, really.
I
can just do this and get it. Like, why are you wasting your energy? I think that's far more interesting.
Well, it is far more interesting, but I guess what my point is it wouldn't surprise me when they actually do have to fight. If it comes down to it, he's going to show that he's got some skill there too. It might not be in everything. He might not be, like I said, he's not going to be a brawler. He's probably going to get punched out a few times, but he's going to find him, like, he's going to have that one niche where, no, I'm really good with bows and arrows, Perhaps. I can, ride, do like the three arrows at once and, from the stirrups and do all that kind of stuff, because that's stuff he would be practicing on in the courtyard on a regular basis, That's the thing. It's like, he can
unless he's too engrossed by his history books.
But you have to know that too. Or and it could be that maybe he's just really good at strategy, Right. And it's going to be like, oh no, we don't attack like this. Mm-hmm. This is how we get in. This is what we do, because if you do that, you're going to repeat, the classic blunder of starting a land war in Asia.
Yeah.
But we'll see what happens. Like I said, what I like about him is that he's bucking the typical medieval prince stereotype of him being either A, dumb, or B, useless. And the fact of the matter is he is actually pretty, he's going to be pretty impressive, I think, at the end of the day, because he is going to be the guy who solves problems, At least I hope he will.
And no one's saying that he won't be. Like, just because he can't fight, you should, like, let's not make excuses for him that don't need to be there is all I'm saying. He's fine the way.
Fair enough. What it is when people started bothering him about bringing the flute along, which is also one of the things. This is one of the things I really liked about this too. Is like, Kit and them, they're being very judgmental of Dove and them. And
the truth of it is because they're scared, right? They've never done this before, right? So they're projecting this image of who they think they should be. And when something, goes against the grain of how they think you should ask, act, they're going to call it out just because it makes them feel uncomfortable. Right. He's fine. He's relaxed. And like, I think, when times get tough, they're going to appreciate it when there's something to, make them feel better,
Exactly. And it's, it's like someone has to cook. And then, like I say, you have the people that have actually experienced this, the prisoner, who is Mad Mardigan's old chum. You just gotta love Val Kilmer, and you gotta just feel so bad for the bad timing that, when all of his big hits come back, he has this chance to be, and he's like, I can't talk,
It was nice to see him in Top Gun. That was really
I'm sure it was. And, he's actually a really good actor, and he'll be back because they got the cancer out. So he just got to get his larynx working again. Wow. And then he'll be top drawer again, or he's going to learn how to make the new voice an interesting character to play,
Maybe he'll play Batman again.
There you go. I'm Batman, No, I just always talk like this.
That's you, right, Bruce?
No. Yes. But yeah, but I do love the fact that Val Kilmer is getting all the love from having his old films just come back, and people just really remembering why this guy was, a movie star for a while. You almost wish The Saint had been able to pull it off, because he was good in The Saint too. But or maybe not. Maybe. Yeah, hey, it's an action film, It's,
right, exactly, for what it was.
Yeah, I'm a fan of the old TV show, The Saint, so it worked for me. It had the vibe of the old show.
Yeah, and this series does also seem to be capturing that 80s vibe. And I think they're doing it off the back of the chemistry between these actors. It feels fun. It feels like they're like in it and they're giving into the reality. Helps me buy into it. And they look like they enjoy working off of each other. And then that's really, I think, what makes it fun and interesting. By the end of it, by the end of the first episode, the second episode really becomes more interesting and you get more ingrained. But like here at the end of this episode, my first thought was, this is like Game of Thrones if R.L. Stine wrote Game of Thrones, like a softer, kinder, gentler version of Game of Thrones.
Yeah, but R.L. Stine can write scary. He writes good. He's made a lot of money scaring kids.
Oh no, absolutely. But yes, but scaring kids. That's what I mean.
Yeah, and that's the thing. But but I agree. Yeah, it's like Game of Thrones, but not not as pervy, I guess I'll say.
Right, or dark, or violent, or like.
Well, and again, that's why you always get into things like this. It's like, how dark and violent was the world ever? And it was dark and violent in the fact that people died all the time because there were plagues and famines and, scary monsters around every corner. But, when you have just that whole scale blood and guts entertainment, I get the feeling that, public hangings were probably more popular than public beheadings. Although public beheadings had their time too, but also only because it was the guillotine. I don't think that, people really went out for when the mountain would just chop off people's heads.
I bet you they did.
You did? Yeah. Perhaps.
Everybody wants to say they're not that person, but everybody stops when they see a car accident. Traffic slows down because you can't help it. There's something inside of us that wants to see, oh my God, it's not me, right? Thank God it's not me. That survivor feeling is, I think, why we chase it. So, I mean, part of that.
Well, okay. So here's what I'll give you. Did you ever watch not Gotham, but what was, I still say is actually meant to be a prequel to Gotham, which is Pennyworth.
I did not.
Okay. If you liked Gotham and you want to see like what the R-rated version of Gotham would be, set in the 60s, it's actually pretty good. But one of the things they have in it is that because it's set in England, like the royalty is still kind of like the political machinations are still kind of almost like V for Vendetta, where you have this very tight control by these very insular power brokers. But one of the things they still have is public executions. And they do, not only are they doing the beheadings, but they're doing disembowelings.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So, you don't want to be in the front row, or if you're in the front row, you bring the tarp.
Jesus.
Yeah. But it's like but they treat it like a Gallagher concert. So,
right.
and it's like, to me, like, I think that's where we've gone over to the comic book supervillainy. It's like, we have escaped what might have been just a dark and brutish time and gone into, let's just make it crazy.
Yeah.
But that of course is what that is. It's a comic book. And so, you gotta up it. It's like I always say, that's how we're actually in the evil alternate universe, because when we do an evil alternate universe, it has to be so much more evil just so that it doesn't look exactly like our world. But anyway, getting back to the story, so within it, and just to jump it back a bit, we do have the original meeting, and it's supposed to be the wedding, or the betrothal, if you will, between Flash Thompson and Kit Tantalus. And, he's, like I said, this is where he's endearing, because he's not trying to be, well, I guess, you have to do this, and, he's being a very intelligent, circumspect person who knows how to talk to a woman. And I find that funny, because I kind of get the feeling that Kit doesn't know how to talk to a boy. I kind of get the feeling that she's the one who's just like really doesn't know
who she is.
What?
Who she is herself, right?
Well, yeah.
If she knew who she was, then she'd have the confidence to be that, but she's still trying to find herself, right? She's young. So she's putting on all these images, and she doesn't know which one she wants to be, and she's hiding behind a lot of bravado and a lot of anger. Well, she's a teenager, that's what it is. But he seems like, he understands the broader picture of what's about there. He's like, all right, I guess I got to do it. And he's like, hey, don't look at me like I'm the reason you're in this situation. You don't have to, I'm in this with you. I'm not happy about this either. Right?
Yeah.
But we have to do what we have to do. I think that's where he's coming from. And,
yeah. And he makes that call back to it later, which is when he says, look, when, eventually you and I are going to be the ones in charge of everything, and we can just do whatever we want. We don't have to follow these old rules and traditions.
Yeah.
We can say F that, and let's make a better world for everyone. What do you think of Eric, Tantalus? Our pretty
brother?
boy. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess you need one of those in every show, right? You need a Joey character, right? So he's basically Joey, but you see, they don't want you to not like him. He's affable, he's lovable, but he means well. He's talking to the maid, and you think, a prince in his position, this would all just be game he's spitting at her, right? He doesn't mean any of it, but towards the end of it, you find out maybe he does. So he's a good guy while being likable and lovable. So that's awesome.
Yeah, and I do like that too. And we do got to give the big shout out to Dove, Ellie Bamber, or as she is also called, is it Alora, I believe. That's the big reveal, kids. At the end of this episode, they do find Willow, and Willow's like, oh yeah,
Laura Dannon, right.
Laura Dannon, yeah. And she's like, no, I'm the maid. I don't know what you're talking about. I just came along because I cook.
And I love that her handler or her grandmother or the head mistress or whatever that runs the kitchen, she's like, what are you doing fraternizing with the I guess
royals, yeah,
whatever,
yeah. Well, and that's the idea with this is they want to keep her safe,
right.
And that is, of course, the crux of the tension is, there's this fear that that what causes the evil is the magic, that the magic brings the evil, and not that just evil is nature and the magic will follow the evil wherever it goes. but they're trying to not have her grow to be a sorceress because they're afraid that'll lead to corruption and yada yada. But Willow, and of course you don't get that yet, but we get in this moment that she has been hidden away, and she's been intentionally hidden away because they didn't want the evil spirits to know where she was. It's like it's sort of like if you do a nicer reading on Harry Potter, where that the Dursleys were actually just trying to hide him from Voldemort the whole time. Because they were left with this kid who is theoretically got a monster after him. So how do you hide that? How do you protect that? When you don't have any magical powers yourself, you lock him away and you keep him away from magic, because what could you do? We don't have magic. We don't have a way to fight that. So lock him away, keep him safe. And because that's my super generous reading of the Dursleys. But I'd like to think that you can do that. That's the joys of fan fiction, especially when you can take it away from the original authorial intent, and you can say, no, I'm going to retell this story, but I'm going to make it from these people's point of view. And I'm going to say they actually had a reason for why they did that. And here's their justifications, and here's what they were afraid of, because Wizarding World and magic in general is very scary. And, that I think is what is sort of driving the Queen in this situation, is they're afraid of what this magic could do. And if they don't push back toward it, if Queen Ariana does not stop it, it's going to consume them all. So
yeah, but she should be smart enough to know that they're going to need to contend with this problem at some point, and dulling your most powerful weapon purposefully is probably a really bad idea.
Well, I guess it's sort of how it goes. It basically goes to a theory of magic. And is magic powered by the fact that we have this magical realm, or is the magic powered by the fact that we're always tapping into the magic?
So the idea is, if we don't go dig up the gold, the conquistadors won't come to steal it.
Effectively, yeah, And if you don't really value the gold itself, if the conquistadors had come here and the mines didn't have tons of gold, which to them was just like, oh yeah, it's that pretty soft metal that we get out of it's pretty much useless for anything. But man, it makes really pretty decorations, doesn't it? Yeah. And they've just got so much of it, and so they just painted on everything. And and the conquistadors are like, what? Gold? Yeah. And it's like, yeah, dude, it's just all in that lake, man. Just well, what are you freaking out about, man? That's why we build the cities out of this stuff. What are you talking about? It's just gold.
It's out of the ground.
Yeah, it's not like grain, something you can eat that has value. It's not like water that you have to make sure it's pure and you got to maintain those proper flowing of estuaries. It's just pretty rocks we pulled out of the ground.
I guess her perspective is, if I don't let the magic take root in her, the eye of whoever's chasing it will never fall upon us.
Exactly.
So yeah, but someone's talking to her, right? Someone's whispering in her ear that only she can. And she's not paying attention. She's like, la 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 la.
Yeah. Well, it's an interesting question, and it should be noted that her mom was the evil crown. So it is possible that there's lots of levels how things can go in this. And really and that's sort of right where you immediately start to worry about this, is the fact that Willow's not around until the very end. But we'll talk about that in the next episode. But any final thoughts on tonight's episode? Anything you really want to call it? Oh,
the party sets off on this one, right? The party,
this is the party setting off.
Yeah,
this is the party setting off.
Yeah, so the what's his name? Flash is like, yeah, I'll just sit back here, and the father's like, no, you're gonna go with him. He's like, what do you want me? What am I gonna do? But really forces him to go.
Yeah, although I do love. Well, I mean, I love. Because you have the old captain of the guard there that goes along with them, and he's like, you got to keep your wits about you. You got to be aware of everything that you see. Oh yeah, and then the arrow goes through him.
Right. So yeah, the attack happens this episode, right?
Right. Yes.
Right. See, I don't think we talked about that. So the attack happens, and the eagle takes the brother away.
Oh yeah, that's
and
early
that's
in
the
this
reason
episode, yeah.
that they're going.
Yes,
on
because
their little drive.
they have to find, because that's why because they're going to find Willow. That's the plan. And like at the end of this episode, they do find Willow. So
all of her scheming to not let the magic ignite in her didn't pan out. They still found a way to get to them.
Exactly. Well, and that's the thing, is you can't ignore it. And that is the real thing, is that there is this threat that you can't hope the threat doesn't come here. You can't hope that the threat goes away.
Right. Just because you're going to close your eyes.
You can't see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. Right. The evil is there the whole time.
And it's speaking, and it's hearing, and it's listening. You know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, we even see, we do see what is obviously, it's pretty heavily foreshadowed, which is the other captain of the guard getting the brand on him, and, everyone being sent out. And, I like this. And then we also get in this the fact that, again, Flash Thompson, he can read the old writing. He can read the script, because it's like, I speak like 8 languages. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
It's like, what do you think I do all day? How do you think I prepare to be a king? What do people think being a king is? It's like, it's like, what do you think this job entails? Yeah. Do you think it's just, building walls and throwing rocks? No, it's negotiating best use of resources for the population, and to make sure that things are, keep the peasants happy and the knights happier. It's a very complex process, and then dealing with the ones over in the next kingdom. So, but yeah, it's again, this is where you know that Flash Thompson's character is going. I don't want to call him Flash Thompson.
Right.
His character's name is Graydon. Graydon Hastur. And Graydon is going to be useful because he's already proven useful. When no one else knows what all this writing is, he explains this is what it's saying. And, when you get the whole thing of like they were driven mad by this, and, then it's your classic Lovecraftian story. It's like, oh, they read the book and now they're mad,
Yeah.
Cthulhu's coming for them. And that's what they had to deal with here. And the old guard gets shot, and the Bone Raiders come after them, and they do escape, and they get through the barrier. Although, of course, in that one, Dove just walks through the barrier because she is Aurora Dannon. Don't know it yet, but we do know it by the end. And then they get to the old village, and you see the other guy from the first film. Says, I'm Willow, go away. Which I also like because it reminded me of that scene in, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, where you have the other old British guy who's pretending to be Alan Quartermain for the tourists. And, but then the real Alan Quartermain just sitting back because, doesn't want to talk to tourists. But, there's always some guy that'll happily tell you all of Alan Quartermain's stories for the price of a beer, So I liked that bit there.
Yeah,
and
I think the first episode does a good job of springboarding everything, and it's got my interest. I'm engaged.
Great. I can't wait to talk about this more and more each week. Until Invincible comes back, or The Boys comes back, or something else comes back.
Well, I think Invincible is supposed to be back at the end of the year sometime.
Yeah, I know, late 2023. I know we've got, does Secret Invasion come next? Secret Invasion might come next. There's a lot of good stuff coming this year. But we'll finish up with this year for right now. And, let me just say, folks, you may like this fancy t-shirt I'm wearing and be saying, wow, how could I get a fancy t-shirt like that, Charlie? Well, the good news is you can if you go down to our show notes. Go to Linktree, linktr.ee/CapesandLunatics. You'll get a link to all of our shows and all of our merch, t-shirts, cooling metal mugs, phone cases, You can also find our email address there, which, if you don't go there, is CapesandLunatics, all spelled out. That's CapesandLunatics@gmail.com, where you can write to us a delightful missive about what you think's going on in Willow, what you think's going on in any show or any pop cultural phenomenon. We will find a show to read it on, and we will read it on the air. Likewise, give us a call, because we'd love to hear from you at 614-382-2737. That's 614-38-CAPES. Do that, leave us a message, we'll play it on the air, and we'll all feel a little bit closer. And Mozz, if people just want to talk to you and the greatness that is Mozz, my skinny rich friend, how can they find you?
Oh, they can email me at mozzmanzora@gmail.com or find me on Facebook under Mozz Manzora. That's MOZZMANZOOR.
And, of course, you can always write to me in that old-fashioned email way, the way our mothers and fathers once did. That's superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, @gmail.com. Of course, follow me on the Twitters. I live tweet things when I feel like it, at Charlie Esser. That's CharlieEsser. Look for the 2 E's in the middle.
For quality. Bing!
Thank you, Mozz. All right, me hearties, you have come to the end of another exciting voyage through the shattered sea. Please come again next week as we once again sail full stream ahead. Arg.